Hey everyone, and welcome to the inventory and item system explanation for my plugin for Unreal Engine. So I'm just going to get straight into it. The most important part of the system is the inventory component. So I made a blueprint version, but like I said before, everything comes from C++ and is exposed to blueprints. So you can use only C++, only blueprint, or a hybrid of both if you would like. So the C++ version only has the main inventory and all of that system and how it works. This blueprint one has some extra stuff. So it has a hotbar, it has armor, and it has everything to do with the widgets. So technically you should use blueprints for this to be able to make it work with blueprints, but also mainly widgets easier. I'm sure there's a way to do that in C++, but I think it's kind of difficult in my opinion. But anyways, let me show you how it works. I'll pick up a couple items. This is your inventory. This is my built-in widget that I am adding with the plugin. You can drag items around. They can have their own shapes. And they don't have to be 2x2 or 1x2. They can be custom shapes like this gun. And you can fit them together like Tetris. So I have made some item parent classes. So I've made weapon object, consumable object, and armor object, and they all come from item object. So I'll talk about this specific weapon object later. But if I play again, I've made it so that if you pick up this armor, everything can go in your hotbar, and everything can be selected in this hotbar. So now it's in my hand, deselected. But armor in specific can go into your armor. Now right now it's red, but obviously this is a helmet, so it goes in one of the top slots. And right now I made it so that this one's helmet, this one's like shoulder pads, arms, chest, legs, shins, and then gloves and boots. And this is still just for example. You can feel free to use this, feel free to make it better. It's probably buggy. Feel free to not use this at all. Another thing that's extremely important is the slot system inside of the inventory system, inside of the inventory component specifically. So it doesn't actually work here because I made it so that I'll explain that last. If I put this armor in the helmet and I put it somewhere where it can't go, it'll go back to the previous slot that it was at. If I do that for the hotbar, same thing. If I do that for the inventory, it'll just find the first empty slot. So that slot system is for you to use these extra inventories to make your own extra inventory. You don't even have to use it though, but it is kind of built in, so you do have to use it, but you don't have to implement it if you don't want. So next I will show you the items from the inventory and item system. So weapon object, consumable object, armor object, those are just kind of the specific branches. But when you make something derived from item object, you can implement interfaces. I mean, you can implement interfaces in a lot of things. But everything will get the LE interaction interface. So there's 3 categories that you can choose from. One of them is missing because I implemented all of them and it disappeared. But these are all the item interfaces. Then there's interaction interfaces, which is for the interaction system. And then there's the inventory interfaces, which is mostly just for the inventory, not the items. So that's also one of the reasons why I say that the item and inventory systems are different, because they need each other to work, but they are different systems. So these interface functions that you can use are use item, stop using item, select item, and deselect item. So this is for my hotbar. So when you select it and you use your scroll to change which hotbar slot you've selected, it'll select it, and when you get off it, it'll deselect it. And when you click, it will use it. either you can decide where you stop using it, but when you either unclick, let go, it'll use this, or if you click again, it'll use this, and it's up to you. So right now, weapons have a built-in usage for action index of 0, and you can have infinite action indexes, and you can just make them do more. So I made it do in a switch statement. So if it's 0, it will automatically do your ability system because it has a built-in ability class. What I'm mostly trying to show you is you can do multiple things with the interface use item. And of course, I'm only doing something with 0, but you can add pins here. You don't have to use a switch statement. You can use a branch and compare it to 0, compare it to 1, compare it to 1000. But that's how I use it right now because it's pretty simple. So let me show you how some of my items work with abilities. This guy right here is obviously a gun. This is probably my best item, most in-depth item right now. So when I select it, it not only will grant an ability for me, because a gun is a weapon object and it has an ability, it will also change my crosshair. And then if I deselect it, it'll change it back. So what'll happen for the interface use item is when I click, it'll start shooting, and when I stop using it, by stop clicking, it'll stop shooting. Also, I have another, I just did that really fast, but let me actually show you what I just did, because I did it a little bit too fast. Inside of this example component that I made, when you press R, it will interface use item, whichever one you have selected currently, and it will do it in action index 1 instead of 0. And inside of the gun that I have, action index of 1 is reload. So when you press R, you reload. And this is using the interface again, and this is calling the parent. So this should derive from weapon object right there. There it is, just like from before. So the item system is pretty free to use, not like money free, but customizable. I did make this gun. There's not much implemented, so you don't have to listen to me. But it's a very good proof of concept. So these variables are what make this gun so powerful. So is hit scan. This means, does it what your crosshair is looking at immediately, or does it summon an actual actor and move the actor and wait for the actor to hit something? So right now it is waiting for an actor to hit something and spawning that actor. If I set this to true, it would summon a line trace instead. The next one is simultaneous shots. So if you have a spread radius, this will act like a shotgun. If you don't, you'll just fire 6 bullets right in the middle. So the next one is spread radius. So this is how spread apart each bullet is. If it's at 0, there'll be no spread. If it's at like 5, there'll be almost no spread. And the crosshair changes according to this, but if it's at 0, the crosshair looks like 100. I set it up like that. But I have it at 150 default so that you can see that the crosshair size changes. Then is automatic. Does it keep firing, or do you just fire once? The fire rate is how fast each automatic bullet shoots after one another, or if it's not automatic, how fast the cooldown is so that you can click it again. So you don't just spam it. Ammo type is not implemented yet, so I'm going to skip that. Max ammo is how much ammo the gun can hold, and current ammo is how much it has currently. It's pretty self-explanatory. And then bullet is for projectile only. So if you have a hit scan gun, you probably don't need this. But if you have a projectile, you need a bullet. And I have a default bullet class. It's just a ball. And after 5 seconds, it destroys itself. And inside of the gun's ability, Luminant expansion's ability shoot it sets it right here. When the bullet overlaps, if it's not the owner, destroy the actor and maybe damage it. So that'll be some more ability explanation stuff. But that is the gun. So it's a pretty in-depth proof of concept of items working with abilities. So now let me show you the inventory and item system working with the interaction system. So these are not items. These are item actors. Item actors hold item objects. Item objects are at the actual data of the item. So just to be clear, these parents, like weapon object, come from item object. Item objects are the actual item itself. All the data, let me show you. Name, description, icon, mesh. The actor class, if you don't want to use a mesh. This is where it goes when you select it in your hotbar. If your owner has that socket name. You can either use the mesh or the actor on that socket, and that's the boolean for that. And this is where you set your shape of your item, and you have a stack size. So that's the item object. So how do you put that in the world like I did? So this is the reason why all of these are squares or cylinders, is because item actors don't immediately set themselves according to the item object inside of themselves. So I made a blueprint version of this class, but it comes from elite item actor. So it doesn't really do anything because it comes from there. But it does have some default stuff. So inside of every single item actor, it has the interaction, the child interaction actor from the interaction system. And you can set the collider shape according to the item actor around it. So if I show collider, it's exactly the same as the item because it's the cube. And you can change it if you would like. But I'm not going to. So then once your interaction component starts shooting line traces and it hits this, it will highlight it. And then every single item, if I go to this in the code, let me show you. So inside of item actor, there's your child interaction actor. So the interface is right here. Interface interact. So that is right here. So when you interact by using the interface, it'll call item interact on server. And eventually it does some checks, finds your inventory, make sure you have an item object inside of the item actor. It will set object defaults, which is pretty much making sure that, I'll just go to it. You're creating a new version of the item object and making the outer the inventory's owner, because you don't want it to be whatever it was before, just in case you have it in a chest or the owner's world or something like that. You want it to be the owner. It'll reset it and it'll try to add it to the inventory, and then it'll destroy the item actor and the object inside of it. So that's the default thing that it does. That's how you pick up items with the interaction system. So there's it highlighted. When I press E, it's destroyed and it's replicated, not replicated, but it's duplicated into my inventory. So that's pretty much it. That's the inventory and item system. So if you do decide to use the blueprint things, they're probably buggy. Feel free to fix them and make them better. And let me know what you did, and I will try to fix it myself and add what you did. But I hope it helps you, and I hope you enjoy. So thank you for watching, and thank you for using my plugin. Bye bye.